What were the biggest headaches in terms of getting the video done? I just said that before we started filming too. Yeah.
What were the...
Do you have a headache right now?
No, I don't have a headache.
My head has a headache.
Sometimes my glasses like push against my head and it makes me happy.
Oh, that's why I can't wear hats or I hate glasses. Yeah.
It's a good hair piece.
Mm.
But yeah, no, I think it really was just the music. Not even like we didn't clear music or anything, but it was just the biggest headache. Honestly, was the music because finding a song that would fit with, I don't know, like take like Little D, for example, like Daniel Martinez, like finding a song that would fit with my whole like 70s prog rock theme for the video that goes good with like a swaggy ass like Mexican dude from East LA.
Pants hanging off his ass.
Yeah, it's like, it's kind of like, it's this weird thing where, I don't know, I have a weird hang up as a writer. I'm just like, oh yeah, you can do whatever you want. But as a filmer, I'm just like, no, you can't do whatever you want. You have to fucking like, you know, because I want I want him to be psyched on the part, and I want the part to like really, you know, I want it to like vibe with him, and I want it to be something he's really psyched on and something that's a good representation of him to the BMX community.
I think you've always intrinsically known that, which is something that a lot of people, it takes them a while to learn as a videographer, and maybe they never learn it, which is that if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, the video part is not going to come out right. Like if every song is coming from a different direction, the video is going to suck. Like you need someone guiding the ship.
Well, yeah, it just needs like, it's exactly like, I mean, fuck it. You just needs like some degree of consistency. You know what I mean? Like you can't, like, I watch videos all the time where it's like, I can clearly tell dudes either pick their own songs or like influence the filmer to pick the song, and it's like the project is just like, it always has a couple good parts, but then by and large it just sucks because it's like I can't watch this as a whole. I'm going to be skipping around.
If it doesn't feel cohesive, is it even really a video? Yeah,
like I'm not trying to make something where people are skipping around. You know what I mean? That's basically what it is. So
especially now with web videos being so common, you want to make something that's the opposite of that, something that's meant to be viewed as one part.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. That's like fully what I was going for there. So that was the biggest headache for sure, was just finding like, believe it or not, actually Tate was pretty hard for me to pick the music for, purely because like it's like, I don't know, you would think it'd be easy, like, oh, we're like-minded creative dudes or whatever with our writing, but like his writing isn't, I'm very like editing, like everything needs to be timed to the beat, kind of like that's like my steez with editing. And like for somebody like Broc or somebody like DeMarcus or whatever, it's pretty easy to like put on a song over their footy, and not easy, but like, you know, you put a song over their footage and you're like, okay, you can see like this beat is going to hit here. And like, there's highs and lows and there's builds and there's this and that, and that'll work. But for somebody like Tate, it was like every one of his clips are at a completely different pace. Like there's no sort of like, it's like, there's no sort of like he has his own style, but his own style is just like improv, you know?
Right.
So it's like there's no sort of consistent feeling with Tate's writing that you can really like peg a song to. So I actually hit up Ballman actually ended up choosing the Tate song, but he actually kind of wanted that for his part. But I remember like hitting up Jordan Utley, because like Jordan had obviously edited Tate footy in the past and stuff with like Killjoy and 50/50 and stuff. And I was kind of just like, hey man, like I'm really having trouble finding a song for Tate. Like, what did you use? You know? And he was just like, oh yeah, like I have a bunch of songs like set aside for this very thing. And he sent me a Pink Floyd song, and it wasn't the song I ended up using, because I already had this song that I already listened to that like Ballman had suggested for his part. But so I went with the Ballman choice, and I was bummed that I probably bummed out Ballman or whatever by like using his song. But I mean, it worked out, you know. But
these are the hard decisions that you have to make as the commander-in-chief.
Yeah, but it was like that song. I ended up like, if you actually listen to the real version of that song, like I butchered the fuck out of it. Like I took this one beat that I felt was like very, very like Tate's writing, and I just looped it over and over again.
And you tend to do this because you did this even in football. You were taking songs and chopping them like crazy. Yeah. Is this not common amongst other videographers?
No, I think everybody does this.
Oh, okay.
The biggest culprit of this that I can see, like I follow skate shit really closely, like Chase Gabor at the Barracks does this constantly. It's like, because his job is like the most demanding probably of like any filmer, but I'll always watch his shit and sort of like, you know, so see what he does. And like a lot of times he'll like, because anything flies at the Barracks. That's the cool thing about what their operation, because they're they don't do YouTube route. They just go straight to like an
their
in-house
player.
player. So anything goes. They can use Paul McCartney. They can use the Beatles. They can use whatever the fuck they want and not have to deal with like the YouTube repercussions, you know?
But what, he'll take pieces of the song and just loop them?
So like how I figured out that he was doing it so much is just like I always like his, I always like his song choices or whatever. So I'll always like watch it. I check the barracks like every day and I'll like watch his videos or whatever. And I'll usually go download the song or, look up the song afterwards or whatever. And I'll be like, oh man, he butchered the fuck out of that. Like that's sick. Cause I've been doing that forever, So it's cool to know that like other people are kind of, do that shit too. But yeah, so for the tape part, I used a Floyd song that Ballman wanted to use, but then I used it for Tate's thing. But yeah, I found this one spot. It was like this series of kind of like noises and just like it was almost like some Native American kind of like noises and stuff, but it like set to like Pink Floyd, so it's like a real psychedelic kind of experience. And like just looped over and over just this one little part, and it actually ended up going perfectly with Tate's Rag. And I'm pretty sure like so I had like verse chorus or whatever, and then just looped this one part over and over again and just like ended out the part with that. So that was like my solution for Tate. But Tate was probably the hardest one next to D. D was the hardest one.
Really?
Richie actually came through with a really good song. It's not like he came through it for D or anything. Like he just gave me a bunch of songs and was just like, like some of these would probably work,
So did you intentionally go? I know you said in an interview that you didn't use anything from the 21st century. Was that intentional, or is that just kind of where your music taste?
It wasn't intentional. It was just kind of like what I was listening to at the time. And it's actually funny because like I don't know. During the first year or so of like filming the volume video, even like the first year and a half, like me and Raban are just driving to Salt Lake listening to like Cameron and Love and stuff. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm some dude who's been into this type of music forever or whatever.
Cameron playlist.
Yeah, I mean, I still love Cameron. Like I definitely hate most current rap, but I still like the shit I liked when I was younger. But it's just sort of like an avenue I went down musically, and then the more like the video went on and stuff, like we filmed for 2.5 years, maybe like almost 3 years kind of for it. So the last like year for sure, that was like my steez was just like having like met Richie too, and like he is just like an encyclopedia with this music. So it was almost like this. It's like I had all this crazy music from the 70s that I'd never heard sort of like coming into my life, and I was just like, oh, these are gold. Like It's like fucking like Ovaltine Roundtine, it's like gold, Jerry. Gold, like
Banya.
Yeah. So yeah, it was like that, and it was just like, oh, these are too good not to use. And like I fucking like, look at me, dude, long hair, fucking that's like my steez, so It's like I'm obviously like gonna be into it. And I think in my mind sort of too, it's almost like there was a correlation with like a DVD is kind of like an ancient art form at this point,
so using older songs makes
sense.
So
using older songs to me made sense, and it's also like, man, music back then is like it's like there's never gonna be another Led Zeppelin. There's never gonna be like people like I can that like before we finish this conversation, I can fucking download a program on a computer and like make a song myself now. Like the technology is so accessible to people and shit,
There's definitely a different mentality then, yeah.
So it's like back then, people making music had to like really have a drive and a passion for like what they did, and they also had to have some sort of like natural talent at it, not just like something that they could consume from the internet, So I think that like musically, I feel like kind of went with what we were doing more, because like we're like not like we're doing anything like that, but like we're a group of dudes who are like really passionate about riding and like making video parts, and like we all kind of like threw all into this DVD, and we wanted to make it as good as we possibly could. And like everyone on the team is like super talented, unique, creative bike riders, and like they're not fucking doing it for money, or they're not doing it for anything. Like they're doing it because they love it and they want that for themselves, not for volume. Like they want it for themselves, And so I felt like that music from that time period really like accompanied that sort of feeling of like just having a lot of like natural talent, and like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
like, fucking, like that. And that to me was like the shit. So that's kind of like why I went with that theme. And also it's just like, I'm sick of like, I mean, I know you guys like love this shit, but it's like, I'm sick of like this fucking current, like every time I like turn on a video and I just see that it's like some new rap song or whatever, I'm just like over it. Like, so I wanted to do something that would stand out kind of, but it was also just natural because it's like what I'm into,
Right.
So that's pretty much where I was at with that decision.
That whole little tangent came from the conversation of the biggest headaches in terms of getting the video done. Was there anything else that stood out as like crazy obstacles to overcome?
Yeah, just editing in general. Like,
because you drive yourself fucking insane with the editing.
Yeah,
like,
no,
you lock yourself away.
I don't lock myself away, but
how many months did it take you? Pretty much.
Honestly, like only 3, but like before that 3 months even started, it was like I already had songs picked out for everybody except Tate and D.
Right.
So like that part of it was done, and that was like that probably would have been another like month of headache, whatever. But yeah, I would say just like editing in general.
What,
putting
34
like
minutes
fucking
left? 34? Okay. Shit.
Sorry, yeah, so yeah, just editing in general. I don't know. Maybe like with certain dudes, like getting last clips and enders and stuff like that. I feel like getting Broc's ender was definitely.
Yeah, where was that? How'd that crank on bar go down?
It's at this school, and it's like somewhere in like the valley or something.
Oh, okay.
Like somewhere like between here and like Santa Barbara or something, like Ventura County.
But that was like, I know you're a person who puts a lot of like stress and interest into the banger because like you understand what role that plays. Like that's what people remember.
Yeah,
about
it's iconic. It's like it needs to happen, and it's like he was. We were kind of like just gonna use the Pegs Hard 5, but he kind of like. I don't think he was satisfied with it because he thought he could have done it better. I don't think I was super satisfied with it because I also was like, he gave it his fucking all, but it was kind of like the video. Also, to me, like the video wasn't really. It was cool that he did that and stuff, obviously, but to me, the whole video didn't really embody like crazy tricks. It was more like just
setup oriented. Yeah,
more like setup oriented and like using. Like finding cool shit to ride, basically. Like that's like my whole like premise of like fucking like like the cooler it is, like the more rare it is, the cooler it is. Like that's value to me.
And that Broc clip is like an extreme example because it's this super crazy ass setup that almost nobody could do anything on, and then he does crank arm bar, which is like one of the harder grind combos.
That setup was like I wrote about that in my riding route too. That was like the perfect combination to me of like trick. Interesting setup, and then like I filmed it in a way that like I never. It just had a really really good filming opportunity, like built right in, like this roof that was right above it. So you got this. I mean, you look at it and it kind of looks like it was filmed with a drone, but it wasn't. I just had this like perch like right above him somehow, and like so it was like this perfect like shitstorm combination of things that like worked out, like just super good setup, super like gnarly trick, like. Where do you ever find a down rail into a little amphitheater? Like, it's retarded. Like the fact that it even exists in California
super
is
strange.
Yeah, so that's why I use that as the ender.
Oh yeah. What about like putting the sections online? Well, what about Castillo in general? Because that's like obviously you had to work around his taste in terms of the video. I saw Christian the other day or a couple months ago, and I said, "What do you think Castillo thinks of the volume video?" And he said, "I think that's probably the exact video he wanted him to make because Castillo loves classic rock, probably high production quality." He was just like, "Yeah, I think Mastroni did the video Castillo wanted." True or false?
I did the video I wanted.
Right.
Sure. I don't think he had anything to do with it. I don't know. He just like at first there was definitely like a weird. Just like I don't know. With working with Brian in general, it was just like. When I first got the job, it was very much like, this is a job. I'm going to do this job exactly how you want, whatever. But like throughout to answer the question, kind of like throughout the process of the video, it was like, there was definitely a point where it was like, okay, no more bike co on the end of it. Like we're going to revamp the logos. We're going to revamp the t-shirts. We're going to do everything.
Design wise and stuff like that. That was what you kind of said. Like,
yeah, like I didn't actually do any of that, but I like had it done. Like I had like Skier J do the logos, and I had like, I wanted to like revamp the brand image to the team and make sure that was like one package deal that like people could consume. You know what I mean? And that was really important to me too, because I felt like we had this really sick, like ultra creative, ultra gnarly, like just everyone on the team has something to offer, but it didn't feel like there was like a binding thing like holding everybody together besides the fact that we're working on this video. So like throughout that whole process of like, so it was kind of like I would make these decisions like little by little, or like not make these decisions, but like push for these things with Brian, and he would make the decisions. And and it ended up being like in the end, obviously looking at it right now, it's like we have a really cohesive, strong team vibe that
branding wise, team wise, the video is a big part of it.
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me. So
products
people,
and
so it's like that's what I was kind of going for there. So it's like, I think through that, and then through doing the video on top of that, and like having the video be pretty well received, I think, I think that that is definitely what Castillo wanted for sure. But I think like all that other stuff had a lot more to do with like why the brand is what it is now than like just the video. Like we could have just came out of left field with the video without revamping the brand or doing any of that shit.
It wouldn't have made nearly
as much of an impact because people wouldn't have been paying attention to it along the way.
Right.
Like I kind of wanted to make it to a point where people would give a shit about it along the way, and then we come out with a video where it's like now people care, hopefully.
Do you think Castillo trusts your judgment at this part in terms of making most of the calls about the branding and the image?
I think like, I don't know, we still, it's like, it's a boss. Like I was just talking about this with Scott before. It's like, he's a boss, and it's like, it's his company at the end. I always have to just remind myself that like, it's his company, it's like, I just work for it, but I'm so like psyched about, like thoroughly thrilled about just like working with all my friends and stuff. And so whenever I have input, he fully like gets what I have to say and whatever, but we don't agree on everything, know what I mean? Like I feel like I'm kind of like his window into the younger generation, if you will, you know what I mean?
And as a company owner, he needs that, like he needs somebody that's more street to the streets.
Yeah, I think he knows that. Like, I think at first it was still like he was trying to make all the calls, you know what I mean? But I think now it's like he trusts what I have to say, and more importantly, I think he trusts what his team has to say more, because like I am the TM technically, but when it comes to making like decisions, sometimes it's like I didn't even know DeMarcus was coming out with like a signature frame or whatever until like way after the fact, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, it's sick. It's called the Warhorse. It's whatever."
Is that because you're just not super concerned about that product side? I think because it's a secondary.
Yeah, no, I don't. It's totally like bikes or whatever to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like it's geometry and just it's like, okay, it looks cool, but it's like I don't care about like how it's made or anything.
Right.
And I think Castillo knows that, and I think that he just kind of like let me focus on being just the filmer and being like super involved in like keeping the team together, keeping everybody happy, like keeping everybody on the same page. I think those are like more my duties and not just like going over like boring product shit with the team. He likes that stuff, so he likes to handle that stuff.
He's a product guy, yeah.
Yeah.
What about putting the DVD online? Obviously, this is like a huge part of making a DVD in general, is that you have to consider like how am I going to later on release this to the internet?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to like, it was kind of weird because it's like it came out, it had a really good response initially, but that died off like right away. So it was kind of like, I think we kind of like had high hopes that like people would really be like receptive and sort of like give a fuck and buy it and like, you know what I mean? And like, I think what happened is like the people who did give a fuck bought it. But then it's like, so what actually kind of happened was like, we probably would have put it online a lot sooner. Like we're starting to put out sections right now. We put out Brocs. We just put out Drew's today, and we're on like a Monday, Thursday kind of thing with it. Well, all the other parts. The video's going backwards too, by the way.
Yeah.
But so
free coaster ish.
Yeah, where it was in the spirit. I actually sent that out in a group message. I was just kind of like, "Hey guys, we're doing the video fakie. Like, it's gonna be sick."
Hey guys, the whole team's going backwards, so we might as well put the video up backwards. Everyone's got a free coaster. Might as well fucking do it. We're putting out the video fakie. All right. No more Castillo voice. We could do this all day. But yeah, what was your mentality? You just decided the time was right? Did you butt heads with Castillo on that at all?
I did butt heads with him, but it wasn't like bad. It was kind of just like, all right, like, okay, so this is what happens. Like we probably honestly would have put it online a lot sooner. Like what happened was, I mean, Castillo is a bike product guy, so he knows when something comes out and it starts like selling like crazy, and like Dan's is calling him like, oh, I can't keep it on the shelf, whatever. Like that's what happened with our DVD. We had like whatever you would normally order, like 2,000 copies or something of the DVD. It had a lot of hype when it came out, like, it premiered in a bunch of places or whatever, and like, it just had a really good response, I think. And like
everybody who saw it, but then it's like there's such a bigger audience that aren't ever gonna buy a DVD.
Yeah, exactly. But what happened was, so we had these like 2,000 copies, sold out of them in like 4 days. So it was just like, okay, sick. So Castillo, as like a product guy, and like our money dude, was just kind of, they were like, oh yeah, like we need to order more, like, you know, and it was just kind of like, dude, like, we're just sitting on them. Like, so that's kind of what happened. So it's like Castillo, you know, it's like he wanted to just keep pushing, like, with social media and stuff to, like, get people to keep buying it, which is totally understandable because it's like he has a lot of money invested in this thing. And like, we put a lot of money into making the DVD with all these trips and like all my gas every day in the van and stuff. It's like a huge expense for those dudes, you know?
Definitely.
So I think he just wanted to like make his money off it. And I think that's kind of like, but then it's like, you know, I'm as a filmer, like I'm thinking like, all right, it's August, like Nora Cup's coming up or whatever. And I kind of just broke it down to him and I was like, dude, like, we're not going to win Nora like next year, like if we even have a chance of like winning it, you know. I'm not saying that, like, I'm just saying like our video is in contention for it.
Is that the kind of thing that you're a little concerned about when you put it out? Like you're thinking like it would be sick as fuck to win video of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like super, I don't need it or anything. I don't like, you know, it's just, but it would be cool. I just think like, I remember like putting out football and we like made the mistake of like
way too late.
Yeah, we put it out at like the end of August and we like on a DVD and we just we're like, yeah, fuck it, we'll put it in for like video of the year nomination, like whatever. And like obviously nobody voted for it.
It was funny because I remember Fudger tweeting sarcastically on the Ride account like, oh, the only people who voted for OSS football were the dudes on the team. But the thing about it was those were the only dudes that had seen it at the time. Like nobody else had seen it.
Because we were just young kids and we were just all on like a high of like, yeah, we made a video, we did it, it's sick, you know. And like I think like this time around I'm much more of an industry dude and I'm smart to like how it works. So
because we were right, like if we had said no, put it in next year, then it would have been 100% forgotten because it would have been a little over a year old. So at that point you're just fucked.
It was just bad timing on our part. But like but with this DVD, it's like we kind of it came out at a good time, whereas like 6 months went by and we were like, okay, well, cool, we can start putting it online because like that justifies it. Like it was out for 6 months, people could buy it if they wanted it, and like the people who bought it wanted to buy it, and we're not going to sell any more copies. Right. Hopefully we do, but we're probably not going to. So that's kind of how it went. So I kind of was just like, all right, Brian, we're not going to win next year. Like we got to put it online in some way, and yeah, so we sort of arrived. It was Kramus's idea actually to do the fakie thing.
Oh, okay.
He was kind of just like,
typical.
Do the yes.
Scott wants me to do the voice.
Sounds like Mr. Burns.
Well, we've already done DeMarcus Paul Ride Takeover, Dig Takeover. Seems like we should just do the video backwards and generate more hype. I don't know. It wasn't like that. It was like he lives fucking next door to me, but I'm like texting him about this. Like, what do you think would be the best route? And that's pretty much like what he said.
It's just so much fun to do that voice. It gives you a lot of time to think. I don't know.
That voice should be on NPR or something, dude. That's a fucking great voice.
Kramus was definitely built for AM radio. Yeah, he'd be great at that.
Smooth jazz.
What is all right?
Sounds of the rainforest.
I want him to read me a bedtime story. Yeah. What are the key differences in your mentality in filming between football in 2009 and Finer Things in 2014 or so? As you can't tell, that was written down.
In 2014 or so. The biggest difference for sure is just I'm a lot more focused for like, I don't know, it's my job. Like filming for football was like, it was like I was working for you, but it was like you were just paying my rent. Like it wasn't like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like we were like had some thing where it was like, okay, you're going to make this much money a month to like make my videos or whatever. It wasn't like that at all.
In retrospect, we really had no idea what the fuck we were doing.
No, we had absolutely no idea. It was just
it's
like,
not that hard to make a video.
It was like,
no, but like in a business situation, like compared to like his situation with Castillo and our situation at the time, it's like, wow, he's working for like a real company now. And at the time it was like, wow, we're two dudes who know each other. We live in the same house. We're making a video. Who the fuck knows what's happening? Yeah.
Like, yeah, Castillo has a fucking brand that has existed for 16, 17 years, and he's trying to sell products, and you were a dude who was trying to sell t-shirts. So that's kind of like...
And even I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing with that.
Wait, you had the Gary bars at that point in time, and pegs.
We had prototypes that never came out. Well, we sold some of the bars in the web store for the record. Okay. Yeah. This is when OSS was a parts company.
The weird phase.
Bars. The Gary bars, because I knew like one dude in England that called ecstasy a Gary.
Jersey T.
Seems like a weird name. Who the fuck's phone is that?
That's so loud.
Flip the switch.
I wish my iPhone was that loud.
Volume group text. It just goes off and off and off and off. It's just like really it's for Bond.
The volume is loud, ironically.
Yeah. It's
Bond never
it's for Bond
up.
just sending like stupid photos constantly.
Yeah.
But
by the way, that card is you need to format it. I'm pretty sure you didn't format that card.
I still got 74 minutes.
74?
No,
I thought you said 34.
I formatted it.
74.
74 sounds totally fine. All right, cool.
20 minutes sounds better, though.
We can do this in 74 minutes.
Differences in mentality in filming, yeah.
Yeah. So biggest difference is definitely just being a lot more focused. But I do think that, like, kind of how I was talking about not liking nugs, like, I do think that a lot of, like, they're obviously fucking night and day, like, you know, football and the finer things, but I think some of the aspects have kind of like come full circle. Like, I haven't exactly broken out the dolly or anything yet to film for like this new thing, but I think, like, having watched football recently, it's like 26-year-old me appreciates what 19-year-old me was like trying to do or whatever.
Even if the final product isn't exactly what you'd want to do now, it's still like, damn, I knew what I wanted.
The spirit was there for me with so like those aspects have kind of like come full circle. And then the other difference is just like, I actually take filming super seriously. Like, now it's like I'm way past the whole like, oh, we got it kind of stage. You know what I mean? It's like, if we don't got it and like I don't get it exactly how I want from like multiple angles and like it's filmed perfectly, like, I'm bummed. Like, I'm not psyched, you know? I'm not gonna like let the writer know that I'm bummed, but it's like, it's an internal thing where it's like, okay, I need to do better. And then I nerd out on filming a lot. Like, I have I don't know. Like, I definitely watch, like I said, I watch a lot of skate shit. I watch a lot of shit that, like, inspires me outside of BMX or whatever. So, like, I'm like, constantly looking to take, like, BMX situations and, like, because I think it's kind of harder to film BMX because it's a little bit less, like, I don't know. Skateboarding is kind of like, it's like handrail, ledge. You know, it's like there's a little bit more of an established format with skating, whereas like BMX is a little more like liberal when it comes to like okay, I'm gonna jump off this thing.
Yeah, you can ride on more things.
You can ride on grass.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just like it's basically what I'm trying to say is that like every filming situation isn't like fish on the stairs, cookie cutter.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Many filming.
I'm not saying that all skating is either, but I'm just saying like it's kind of harder to like take things that I see in skating that I like and that I might like to like replicate with my own spin on kind of thing and do them in BMX because it's not such like conventional situations, you know, but that's something that I really look to do now. And I just like really lately I've just been really psyched about like and with the finer things and stuff is just making my shit look like crisper, better, cleaner, steadier, you know, like shit like, okay, like get a lead in where it's like, all right, this dude's on this side of the frame. So if I'm filming it in the mirror, I'm going to flop it around and he's going to be on the left side of the frame. And then the fisheye clip is going to start from the left side of the frame. Nice. So it's like all this is going on in my brain while I'm filming the clip. And then like, but whereas before it was just like, oh, maybe I'll film it in the mirror. It'll look cool, you know, or I'll film it in the puddle. It'll look cool or whatever. Or like, you know, like the whole like back end thought wasn't there. So now it's like, you know, I still have so much to learn, obviously. Filming is fucking endless, you know?
Do you feel like you're still learning a ton?
Oh, yeah, fuck yeah. Like, I don't have anything... I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I still just use, like, Final Cut 7. You know, everyone's on Premiere and stuff. Like, I'm a dinosaur, like, in that regard, but...
I just switched to Premiere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, like...
It's working out.
I'm jealous. You need to show me how to do it. But, yeah, man, like, just everything with that is, like that's the main difference is, like, I actually... treat filming like it's something that I can get better at, whereas like during football era I treated filming more as like I was into it, but it was like not I didn't realize like how much you could do with it or how experimental you could get with it.
Yeah, see, I think you were the same way in that you really just wanted to be a dope ass filmer. It's just in that period of your life, you were still just learning your fundamentals in a lot of ways. Like, because even at that time, like you weren't filming on a skateboard, and to me, it's like that kind of is like if you're going to be a legit filmer in 2015, it's like you better be an ill ass skateboard filmer because that's kind of like one thing that sets you apart from everybody else.
Yeah, totally. So
true or false? Yeah, but you said that you used to be a super fisheye junkie, and now you're getting more into the rolling long lens and stuff. True?
No, I kind of hate rolling long. Actually, I don't think there's a single rolling long clip. That's like my least favorite thing, actually, because it's completely inconsistent. Like, I don't like it. It definitely has its applications, but I don't think it's like I don't know. It just looks sloppy. I think, and I don't like it. Like, I don't know. I'm like on this fucking tip right now, where I don't like any sort of like additional camera movements and stuff that like don't need to be there.
Okay.
So, whereas like one thing I see kids doing nowadays that I feel like I might have contributed to this with like nugs and stuff like that, but I see kids filming like iPhone videos and stuff like that, and they're just like filming it like super crooked, and they're like, as soon as the rider leaves the frame, they're like, just like blasting up to the sky and shit. And it's like, that looks like fucking garbage to me. Like, so it's like, I don't want none of that. Like, everything I film now, it's like I have a point where I know the rider's going to exit the frame, where I know I can make a cut, or if it's a still shot, I like know where the rider's going to end in the frame, so I can like use an additional shot to complement it. Like these are all things I'm just thinking about now. You know what I mean? Whereas like, I don't know, like Nugs era, for instance. I think it might be why I hate Nugs so much right now. Is I'm just like, fuck, like why did I'm just like zooming around in the sky and shit? Like it's retarded. It looks so like stupid. Like,
you're at a different level as a filmer because you really are 100% thinking about exactly what's going to happen to those clips once you have to edit it, and that is such a different thing. Like I remember when Charlie first started talking to me about like, okay, if you're going to film it long, you know, you need to think about the point where they enter the frame, and I had never thought about that. And you're thinking about it even another step where it's like I'm thinking about how that's going to fit in with everything else.
Yeah.
So that's pretty.
I'm just like everything I do these days is also like multiple angles too. Like I shoot no matter what the fuck it is, I film at 2 angles, even if I know that I'm probably not going to use like one of the angles or whatever. Like I just have something just for cuts with it, because there's nothing worse than getting home and like editing the footy and being like, oh, I really wish I had a run in right here. Like it's like no good. You know what I mean? Like even after dudes do stuff now, if it's something easy for a guy, I'll be like, hey, can you just hop on that one more time? Right. Or like give me like 10 run-ins so I can choose the best one. Like it's like that's kind of where I'm at right now. You know, I'm more concerned about the final product than I was before. Like before it was just like I filmed it sick, cool. Like I'm happy with the filming on the trick, but now it's like I need the filming on like the full package, if that makes any sense, you know?
Yeah. Makes sense. Who are your biggest filming inspirations? I know Buster O'Shea is a big one.
Yeah, Buster and Hunter definitely opened my eyes to like a lot of really experimental filming techniques, and I like those dudes actually came out to the AZ premiere and stuff, and it's like I've become friends with them and stuff, so it's rad.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Buster and Hunter, I mean, like honestly, I feel like it's pretty transparent, but it's like if you had to pinpoint my style to like 2 different dudes, it would be like a combination of like Buster and Hunter and then like John Miner. John Miner does all the America stuff, and through like nerding out on John Miner, so like he did like Stay Gold, but Stay Gold is VX. Like a project that I'm really into of John Miner's is like there's just like America made, and he's like he shoots with the same camera. Like I feel like we kind of have like a similar like color steez or whatever, you know. But he's like, he like really gets down with like the whole like multiple angle, or not multiple angles, but multiple like clips of the same, like a run-in where the run-in will be like framed super close and then the run-in will be like pulled back super far away and like stuff like that. It's always kind of been like the America Steez, and I thought it was like really cool to, I don't know, just like the way he makes stuff look is just so epic, and his like, I don't know, he's maybe not like the dopest fish filmer or anything like that, but I've always just really liked how his projects are put together. So like the 2 Buster and Hunter, the brothers, John Miner, and then Greg Hunt is also a huge inspiration. And it's like Greg Hunt he just did Propeller, which is the Vans video, and like,
were you hyped on that?
I thought it was good. I thought like it almost had the feel of like something that was a little bit like there was too much of a corporate kind of decision making process going on there. Yeah, but I think he fucking like I think he did a really good job, you know. I mean, it's Greg Hunt, like, but yeah, he also did Minefield, like the Alien Workshop video, and the one thing that stood out to me about Minefield was just all the stuff in between all the clips. I remember actually when we did the football trailer, like he's just filming like little things like jumping around on the table and like artsy lights and like
the
shit
football
like that.
trailer's crazy. He had like every single split second Mastroni had a different image in there. It took you like over a week to do that.
Yeah. But I was also filming like crazy lights and stuff like that. And like I actually didn't really examine it until recently, but I was like, oh yeah, that's because like at the time we were watching Minefield at the house all the time, and like I didn't even know who Greg Hunt was back then, but I was just like, oh, skate video, cool, you know. But like, so I don't know, over the years I would say like Greg Hunt, and then like John Miner, and then more recently I would say Buster and Hunter.
Nice. What about in BMX? Do you have any who's your favorite filmer in BMX?
I honestly, like, this is gonna sound super dickish, but like I don't watch like BMX stuff. I've always respected Navaz. I think actually like Left Right and Talk is Cheap are the 2 best BMX videos ever made. 100%. Talk is Cheap. has the best vibe, I would say, of like it's like a cohesive project. It's a fucking like it was like Navaz's baby, and like he fucking.
This is true, yeah.
You were saying in some other thing where like he talked about like, oh, when I film for cult stuff, like I film really good, or when I film for animal stuff, like I film with Bob's aesthetic in mind, or whatever, you know. Yeah, Navaz is the shit. Navaz is like a fucking genius, I think. But yeah, like Navaz doesn't really. He did like the Mutiny Albuquerque thing, I think that came out recently.
Right.
But, other than that,
a few Mutiny projects lately, yeah.
Oh, did he? I haven't seen it.
That's not out yet, I don't think. No.
Well,
thanks for bringing it up.
That would explain that, yeah. I don't know. In BMX, I mean, I don't know. Like, Kramus kills it, but it's like Kramus' staff for ride. I think Calvin Kosovich is really good. He just did, like, Doc's video that just came out today.
You're a huge fan of Joe Simon early on, too, right?
Yeah, early on, it was totally different.
Huge influence on you, right?
Yeah, just Joe Simon and, honestly, like, Joe Simon shook videos like Chad Shack and stuff in terms of like maybe not in terms of the filming because the filming was all like Wade and stuff, but yeah, like the editing, like Wade's not bad. Like I thought Wade was a good filmer, but yeah, just like the like Chad's editing and just like the way like Shook was just edited really well. It was like everything went to the song. It was like whatever footy he had to work with, he just kind of made it happen. I think that was kind of the Shook vibe. So yeah, like Shook stuff. I mean, this is going to sound super lame, but like, yeah, like Stoked on Being Pumped. Like, even though it was like riding wise, like that video fucking sucked. like thinking about it now, it probably sucked. I
got killed for saying that early on, yeah.
Yeah.
But Let's Get Mystical was more of the total package. That was
Let's Get Mystical was the total package. Like, I always thought Joe Simon was a fucking genius, yeah. I think like, I don't know who else. I just at the time, like when I was younger, I think I was just inspired by like the same way that like kids today, we had this conversation a lot kind of recently, like, I feel like today kids are kind of just like inspired by like what other kids are doing, and they're not necessarily like so stoked on like big pros or whatever.
Right.
But that's kind of like how it was when I was a kid. It was like I was just kind of like psyched on what other kids were doing, and I remember like George Boyd doing like Def Grip videos and stuff like that, and like Midwest BMX and all that shit. So it's like that kind of shit when I was young was the shit to me, and that's what inspired me to like make videos in the first place, I guess. But yeah, going back to it, like, yeah, so I don't know. I don't really watch BMX videos now, but like back then, or like I would say like, yeah, like fuck Navaz, Joe Simon, like, I don't know, I guess even Bob, like animal stuff,
Yeah.
But yeah, animal stuff is super transparent because it's like you can tell when Navaz films something and when Bob films something, like,
Totally. All right, so like, and then the other side of things, obviously, like your mentality on filming has changed a lot. But what about your mentality as a rider? Because you've become even weirder and more specific, and in your own lane even more as a rider.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel like there's seriously so much to talk about here, I think, like for me, because it's like a story I get to, like, my friends know how I feel about riding or how I approach things or whatever, because they get to like see firsthand like how I operate or whatever,
Right.
But I feel like the general public, like when they see my video parts or whatever, they're just like, all right, he's like building spots, he's fucking like what the fuck is this guy doing? Like I think that's kind of the general reaction is like, so yeah, man, it's like I'll take it back, like during football and stuff, like when we were talking about earlier, or maybe at this point, I guess it would be in the last podcast if this is going to be a part 2 thing.
Mm-hmm.
What we were talking about earlier is just the fact that like I had that moment in Austin where I just was like, okay, like I'm free, like I can do whatever I want, like BMX is limitless, like. But at the time, I definitely I felt like I kind of still needed to, like the way the average BMX rider thinks is like, you street rider, like you sort of like you set out, you might have like a list, like a head full of ideas that you'd like to create, but you sort of like let the urban landscape sort of like dictate what makes those ideas a reality and like what is possible within that realm of like what exists on planet Earth for you to ride.
Mm-hmm.
So back then I was kind of like thinking like, okay, like, I want to do interesting shit, or I want to do different stuff or things that I think are cool. But I was still very much like, okay, I need to make this look like BMX. Like I need to make this I still need to like find and conquer, if you will. You know what I mean? I still need to like go out in the world, find street spots, like make stuff happen. And it's not like that much has changed. Like I still do that, you know what I mean? But my football part is like, there was very much like no spot fabrication. There was no like, I didn't really modify anything that I can really think of. Like everything was pretty much just like real life setups, like,
and just to put it in perspective
like
too,
how it lies, you know.
Before that, like he was in New York filming with me a lot, and he would be doing like, I remember there's this kink trail that I really wanted to grind up, and I was like, Mastroni, you should grind up this, and he was like, all right, I'll grind up it. But then like once he got to Austin, it was like all that footage went out the window.
I was just gonna say that
this is not coming out. I'm not that kind of rider.
I have
anymore.
Seriously, like I have like a good solid 3 minutes worth of footage that was for football, from New York and from even like the beginning, like 3 months maybe of Austin, and it's never seen the light of day. Like it's like just all stuff that's like, it's technically hard stuff, I guess. But
I snuck a few of those clips out in like the little remix thing I did, but a lot of it was like, I thought it was so sick, and you were like, nope, I got an idea. This is what my part's gonna be like.
That's at the time I was just seriously like, nope, I'm out. Like this is just like I had no, because I remember too though, like I was in a point, or I was at a point as a rider. Like I remember grinding up that kink rail in New York, and I'll give you the clip for this thing if you want it.
It was in that remix thing. Okay. I'll link it in the description.
Okay. But like I remember grinding up that, and just like I was just like, I did it and it was cool or whatever, but it was just like that wasn't me. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was just like not psyched on it. Like it was just like, and so that was like when I realized in Austin, you know. But so like going back, so what I was saying was like I had that moment in Austin where I felt very like, okay, I can do whatever I want, but like I said before, it still had to like look like BMX, and it still had to, I had to find the spots in real life, and I had to like, everything was very like that was my limit, you know what I mean? It was like, okay, like what can you find, you know? It's like I found the cow to cow, and that was like, okay, like what the fuck am I gonna find that's like better than a cow to cow? You know? So that was kind of like, I feel like I'd almost like not reached my limit at that point, but I was like I still, when I moved to California with you, I did that Welcome to Volume video, and that was like super unconventional too. I was doing like X-up rides on the ground to like X-up ride rollover and stuff. And like at that point, it was still very much the same. It was like I was like going out, finding spots, and then sort of letting those spots like dictate what was possible. And I mean, that's just kind of street riding, you know, but it was just my interpretation of street riding. Now it's more like most of the like 90% of the ideas like come from my brain, and then I go out into the world and like try to like use things that I find to like make those a reality, but those things that I find might not exist in that state, if you know what I mean. Like I don't want to get too far into it, but it's like if you watch my parts, it's like, you know, like I didn't find a rail to chain, like I made a fucking rail to chain, you know what I mean? But it's like, but what people don't realize about it is like I feel like I honestly haven't really received, I mean, my part hasn't gone online yet, so I could be wrong, but I haven't really received, like once the DVD came out and stuff, I haven't really received too much hate or anything for like making spots. And to be perfectly honest with you, like I don't give a fuck, like because to me, like finding something within your own brain is much more valuable, and like, you know, making it a reality like is much more valuable than like finding a spot and letting something that exists like dictate how you're gonna ride it, you know.
What about something like that? You did a rollover with a bunch of poles in a row.
Yeah.
Was that a spot at all before? No, you just fully like, would you find a bunch of poles and you just set them at different heights?
That's what I was just gonna say. Like people who hate on me or whatever, like fuck you. But people
that is the attitude. For the record,
like I don't fucking care, man.
Yeah.
Like
no matter what you're doing,
huge reason of like why I don't care is like because I'm a filmer and I'm not trying to like make it as some sort of pro BMX rider. Like I don't give a fuck what you think. You know what I mean? So I'm just doing me, and that's like, and this is like why, you know, like I'm just doing what I want to do. So anyway, like, yeah, but I think when people hate on me, like, I don't think they realize that like I said, I haven't really received a lot, but like the people, the voices of dissent, I don't think that they realize that like how much work that goes into, you know, just making a spot from fucking nothing. Like I'll be at like a high school in Venice at 4 a.m, like stealing poles and like feeding them out through a wall, like one by one. And then I'll take the poles back to Long Beach and like make a spot in the dirt and spend like 3 days concreting everything in, and like it's a fucking astronomical amount of work.
See that? I think
Like-
it's sick as fuck. I just like the idea that anyone cares enough about BMX to be doing something that is so absurd, takes such a crazy amount
It's
of
retarded.
effort.
Like,
so that's sick to me.
Like I think my girlfriend like thinks I'm insane. Like I don't know like how, you know, she'll just be like, okay, like, you know, that's cool that you're doing that, you know, like she gets it, you know, like it's cool. But yeah, no, it's completely insane. It's like I've been behind a building like just like hacking away with a fucking hammer at like a pole before, and like getting caught by the police or something, and like trying to explain like, all right, I'm a pro bike rider. I'm gonna use this pole to like somewhere else, not here. Like I was gonna take it and then use it somewhere. Like it's just such an absurd thing. It's like no one is gonna even believe you.
Have you had
like,
crazy interactions with the cops like that? Like them just not understanding?
Yeah, that was one.
Yeah,
that was one where I was just like, I mean, I'm constantly just like seeking out abandoned shit because that's kind of like where I thrive. Like me and Tate are very similar in that way, where we both kind of like thrive on just finding like abandoned buildings and just like basically garbage or just like shit, you know, like stuff like that to ride. And but I kind of take it a step further because I have this like grand list in my phone of just like a bunch of setups that I'm like, all right, like I got to somehow figure out a way to like make this or figure out a way to like find this spot in real life and like do some sort of modification to it or whatever. And so I'll be out like riding or behind a building or something, and like, you know, I'll even be out riding like just on normal days, like with the volume guys or whatever, and I'll just like find like a piece of siding or something, and I'll be like, ooh, okay, like I could take this and I could bring it to that spot in San Bernardino and like, you know, make this happen or whatever. So like that's, as a rider, like that's how I'm thinking now. It's fully like a giant scavenger hunt to like just make a video part. Like that's what it is for me now. So
I mean, anyone, that is kind of what it is like a crazy scavenger hunt. All the tricks you can do, you're going to do them on different tricks, but you are like a more extreme example.
That's what I mean. It's just like the same thing. That's why like when, like, I don't know, like I said, I haven't really received too much hate for it. Certain people just think the spots are real because I like to make them look really real. You know what I mean? So like Tate's roommate, or not roommate, Tate's friend Riley, the one who was on the show.
He was out here,
Him and Elf's like a super trickster. Like I guess they saw my section in the video, and that dude Riley was like, man, like he's really riding like some crazy stuff. Like, and then Tate and Elf were just like, yeah, dude, all he does is look for spots. Like he just stays in the van all the time looking for spots. And I was like, damn, dude, really? That's crazy, you know? And so I was just like, okay, cool. Like I fooled this fucking like 31-year-old dude. So like that's cool, you know?
Yeah. When Riley was out here, Tate was loving it that we kept making fun of him for having no pegs and brakes and shit. Tate was like, I'm so glad I'm around other people that think it's funny that he doesn't have pegs.
He's from Salt Lake City. Like,
yeah, it's a whole different world. I can't even pretend to relate. But that is how I see it too. Is like, if you can appreciate Broc Rayford's section and the fact that he went out and he thought of a bunch of shit that he wanted to do and all these weird spots, is like Mastroni might be playing by slightly different rules in terms of like Broc's probably not really modding spots or making spots, and like you obviously have a completely different outlook. Like he's looking to take the crank arm bar and then put that on the best rail setup he could find, and your thing,
which is 100% respectable. Like the thing with my riding is like I'm just doing it for me. Like I'm not trying to talk down on anybody else. Like I just personally am like bored with what's going on, and I want to do something different to stand out. Like for me, you know. So it's not like I don't want to ever take anything away from anything that the volume dudes do. Broc, DeMarcus, like they're just like any of those dudes, like they're just incredible bike riders, you know what I mean? And it's like it's just two completely different things, you know.
If you can't be good, be different.
And if you can't be good, be careful.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, how'd you meet Richie Jackson? What's that about? Because I know you were looking up at him even back in the day. You like watched his videos and thought he was sick as fuck, and then
that's a funny like social media story too.
Oh, okay. So somehow you guys become friends. What happened?
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, obviously, like Tate and I are both like we're you know still are both like big fans of Richie skating, and like he actually is the one who inspired me to do. You know, like I did the fucking like the roller coaster chain jam and stuff. That was like the photo and ride, like it was in my part. Like Richie had like done that like 5 years before that in his and now part. He made like a just a chain pole jam, did like a power slide to board slide up it, and he throughout that part there were like a bunch of other like questionable spots like sprinkled in.
So
and
you kind of thought,
I was like fully picking up and then like that's not real, you know, like but I was just like that's sick though,
especially in skating because they got those tiny ass wheels. Like they have to mod spots more to even just be able to roll on the ground. Yeah,
they mod everything. So which is I respect.
And that is a lot of where your influence comes from, huh? It's like, oh well, if they're gonna mod a spot a little bit, I might as well mod a spot a little bit, or maybe even more.
Like I'm friends with this skate filmer now, Tim, this dude who lives in Long Beach. He like hit me up on Insta and stuff, and like he's been showing me, like sharing some crazy spots with me, and it's like so much of this shit is like shit he modded. Like like there was just this, like we just filmed this clip with Joss here, and I like switch hangered this ledge off this crazy roof, and it was fully like. And the way this dude talks about modding spots is almost like he's been doing it for so long, just out of necessity, because he's just like, dude, it's Southern California. I'm a skate filmer. I live in Long Beach. Like we ran out of stuff to do a long time ago.
Yeah,
like,
it's like part of the job.
Yeah. He's just like, and the way he talks about it is just like, oh, okay, so we found this sick rail. Like, okay, let's just concrete a runway, chop out the kink, like easy, let's do it. You know, like he just talks about it like it's like nothing. And I think that's kind of the world a lot of those dudes live in. So to me, it's just, I don't know, like it's not super outlandish, you know. But anyway, so beating Richie, it was funny because I was looking for spots in Santa Monica. It was actually the day I found like the curved wall ride to over the chains into the elevator.
Absolutely absurd.
It was the day I found that. It was actually like in that same alley, but like a few blocks up or something. So I was cruising around in alleys in Santa Monica, like looking for spots, and I came across this thing, and it was like I think they were like things that were used to block off or open up a parking space. So as the parking space is here, these two things are lying flat. I put a photo of these things on Insta, and it was these square poles, and they folded up and they stopped at like, I don't know, like a fucking like a 45-degree angle, and they basically became pole jams, kinda, but it was like you could maybe hop sideways on a bike and like tire slide across both of them or something, but they had knobs on them. It was kind of fucked. But anyway, so I like took a picture of the spot, and I was just like sitting there in this alley for like a good solid like 25 minutes, just staring at this thing. Like, what can I do? Like, it's so cool. Like, something has to be done. Like, how does this exist? You know? And I was just sitting there scratching my head over it for like forever. And so I was just like, fuck it. I can't think of anything. Like, I don't think I'm gonna think of anything later. So whatever. I'll put it on Instagram. And I think I like, as an afterthought, I like tagged him in a comment, like after I'd already posted the photo, like at the feature, like, hey, maybe you could do something here, you know? And then he like sent me a direct message and was just like, dude, I've spent like hours looking at that thing. And I was just like, oh, okay, like that's pretty crazy. And then I was just like, and we started sort of like talking and messaging each other back and forth, like pictures of spots. And he's just like, dude, do you know where there's like a wall with like two poles and a chain, but it's like right next to the wall, so you could do like a 50-50 on the wall with a chain? And I was like, yeah, actually I do. And I like went down to Chase Bank in Long Beach and like took a picture of the like, I know a setup that's there. And I was just like, yeah, here you go. And he was just like, dude, no way. Like that's,
and that worked out. He got the clip based on your recommendation.
No, we haven't actually filmed that clip yet, but that will be something that we film.
That's incredible.
But it was just like this super like meeting of the minds where it was just like, you're on my page, I'm on your page, but it's like, you know, it's like we're both kind of sort of like we were talking about modifying spots and everything. Like, we're both sort of operating like in the same realm, you know what I mean? So it was just a very cool, it was really cool. And like the other thing about sort of like being a dude who thinks like that, you know what I mean? It's very like, it's kind of lonely in a way.
Yeah. A lot of people aren't comfortable doing that ride around behind or drive around behind buildings for fucking 8 hours.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just like the mentality of it all, like, you know, like I'm not usually sharing with like talking about my riding with my friends or like sharing any of this stuff or even like making an effort to have a conversation about it. Like, you know, like I love Broc, you know, but it's like I can't talk with Broc about like this kind of shit because it's like we're not going to have like a conversation about it. There's nothing there, you know? Whereas like, or just any of my other friends or my chick or whatever. But like, so like making friends with a dude like this is like we can talk for hours about just whatever. And only we know what we're talking about, you know?
And so you've filmed him and like done stuff with him. You guys go out riding together?
Yeah. Right now we're working on like he rides for this company called Death Skateboards.
Right.
So we're working on like his new Death part. It's going to like, they're doing a DVD or whatever, but he's like, you know, he's like me or like Tate or like fucking William Spencer or whatever. Like he's a web guy, you know, he's like not trying to have his part being a DVD, but he does have this like skate sponsor, you know? So he's just going to pull a whole, like as soon as the DVD comes out, the part's going online. So he's mostly been filming with me. He has some footage for like prior to me meeting him or whatever, but so he's just going to put it online pretty much as soon as it comes out, which is coming up. I think it's like within the next couple months it should be out. And it's like, it's like mind melting shit, dude.
Really?
It's like there are like definitely Richie Jackson fans, like, you know, because he has his whole like facade where, you know, he has this whole gimmick where he's like, you know, dressed up and stuff.
And I heard from Tate that he's like very conscious and aware of what he's doing by wearing these crazy outfits. Like he's branding himself very specifically.
I think he kind of operates on more of like he wants himself as a skateboarding professional to be similar to like he wants to be Robert Plant, you know what I mean? Like he treats it like it's like being a rock star, you know. Whereas like you know you're a rock star, you have to have like stage clothes and you have to have like whatever, but it's kind of like it's not really like that because those are all the things that he's just into anyway. So like, you know, he walks around like that all the time. It's not like I've ever seen him like not dressed like that, and we hang out quite a bit, you know. So it's like he's going in the hot tub and he's coming out and he's fucking wearing Richie Jackson clothes. It's not like he's like, oh, dude, I'm going to bed, I'm changing into sweatpants or whatever. It's like, it's just how he dresses, you know?
Yeah.
And it's funny, actually, we were in Ojai one time, like looking for spots, and it was Halloween. And we like stopped at some convenience store to get drinks.
What are you?
Yeah. And so we're in front, like we're behind like all these other people in line that are all dressed up, like buying beer and like getting ready to go out to like their parties or whatever. And like, yeah, we get there and the lady's just like, oh, what are you? You know? And it was just like, it was super funny. It's just like, pirate, I guess, you know?
See, that's the weird thing, I think, is that a lot of BMX riders aren't used to viewing like a career as a BMX pro as like essentially like a piece of performance art where every single part of it, from what you're wearing to how you film something to what exactly you're filming, like these are all just elements in terms of your public persona. And to a lot of BMX riders, it's like your public persona is your private persona. Like what you put out in a video is exactly what you're doing all the time. And it's just interesting to me because Mastroni or Richie Jackson, they have a different attitude on it where it's like, they want to present something that might be a little different than like what they do day to day. But I mean, why the fuck does a video part have to be what you do day to day? Like you could do whatever the fuck you want.
There's no rules. That's really that's really what I've realized with all this shit, especially now that I really I don't care like what people think of me as a BMX rider because I have a super legitimate like position within BMX as a filmer. Like so it's like it's just open permission for me to just do whatever the fuck I want. So that's kind of like where I'm at with it, you know.
So what's up with this new volume project that you guys have been working on? It's called Chapters.
Yeah, it's like, well, the whole chapters. I just called it that, but it's like that's how we refer to it or whatever amongst ourselves. But it's like, it's just like the whole chapters thing has kind of been taken over by etnies or like various skate projects that have like done chapters or whatever. So we're just calling it volumes. So it's the volumes.
Better, yeah.
So what we're doing is the first one is going to be Josh Clemens, DeMarcus Paul, and Billy Perry. And it's basically, it's like we're treating it exactly like we would have treated any other full-length project, be it a DVD or like web video. Like, I don't know, basically the best way to describe it would be like fiending, kind of, but like a bunch of different fiendings. Like, I'm not saying our project is going to be like on the same riding level
like
as
three video parts together.
Yeah. So it's like we're going to release like volume 1. That'll be Josh, Billy, and DeMarcus, and then like volume 2 will just be like, you know, fucking like Jason, Drew, whatever, you know, like I'm not like entirely sure what the next ones will be, but that's the one that I've been working on for
Do
like
you
8
see
months.
yourself having a part in this, or are you thinking you'll save it for a future?
Yeah. I'll have a like I sort of like, I don't know, I mean, I feel like a dick, but it's like I gave myself a 1 in 4 to like to sort of like if we do have a 4, it's like the 4 is going to be like me, Raban, Tate, like you know, like the dudes who take the way I kind of like stacked it is like, okay, I know that like Josh, DeMarcus, and Billy can film a lot of shit and relatively quickly, so I'll let them have the first one.
Right.
Whereas like dudes like Drew or D like might need a little bit more time to film, but they're still pretty on it, so it's like they'll probably have the second one. And then dudes like Jason or Platt, like they don't need as long as like me or Tate do to film, but they definitely like need quite a bit of time, so they could be like the third one. Like that's kind of like my mentality of like stacking it like that, you know.
Do you expect to be pumping out another DVD at some point after you've done this whole online thing?
Nah, I'll never do another DVD.
Really?
No.
But you don't.
I'll do it as an option, but I'll never do another DVD as the only option.
Right. Yeah. So you could see yourself making a full length project, but maybe it'll come out as a DVD, but it'll also come online at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. I've learned like from the finer things, like it was a great learning experience, whatever. But I'm never gonna do like at the end of volume, you know, say we do 4 volumes, like so volumes 1 through 4. at the end of all of that, if we could put that on a DVD as an option and just give it away for free or sell it for $5, or if volume fans want to take that for their personal collection, then they can do it or whatever. Like maybe we'll do something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, on the whole, I just think DVD is a dead medium, and I think like I don't know. I was having this conversation with Richie the other day. Actually, it's like it basically just all it really comes down to is like you make something and you fucking put in all this work for it and you put it on DVD. You're basically just like putting one giant step between you and your viewers. And it's like that's all a DVD is in this day and age. It's just like, unfortunately, it's just how it is. I wish it wasn't, but it's kind of just how it is. And it's like the headaches of putting something on a DVD just suck. Like the colors always look like shit. Everything gets all washed out. Like nobody knows what the fuck they're doing with all the codecs and stuff. You'd have to burn like 20 different copies. Like it's a nightmare. You know, it's
see,
like
that's a very different struggle that you have. I guess you've made DVDs as well, so
like,
you know.
Why wouldn't you just put it on the web and just let everybody enjoy it? You know, it is what it is. Like if I firmly believe like if the project is good, then it'll get the same attention, if not more, because everyone around the world can see it. You know.
Yeah. Do you see yourself like making video? Do you love making bike videos so much that you could see yourself doing it for 10 years? I have written down forever, but forever seems a little outlandish. But what about like 10 years from now? If you were still making dope ass BMX videos, do you think that you'd be happy with?
Yeah, I think I'd be happy because I mean, I don't know. Like I said before, it's like I just like whether it be like my riding or my filming. It's like I just like aesthetics. I like creating images. I like even like from my early days, it was just like me creating something out of nothing, you know, and I still like, that's exactly what I still like, you know. I like going out and just, even if it's like, like a spot like in the middle of nowhere, and even like the spot looks like shit or the ledge is super small, like I like making the ledge look big and making the trick look dope. Like there's just something about that that's like, you can just like feed that to the viewer and like make something dope out of that. And like that to me is never going to get old. Like I watch skate videos and I'm just like, man, like landings timed with beats and like shit timed, like information timed perfectly with other information is like, it never gets old to me. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of shit that I really like. So yeah, in that sense, like yeah, riding's endless. Like video editing is endless. Like you can fucking do whatever you want. So it's like, it's not like I can't imagine having some other job where it's like I have to accomplish some task every day, and then once the task is done, I'm supposed to be happy or something like that.
Yeah,
like just do it again.
Yeah,
like,
what are you going to be doing that's going to be more rewarding than filming bike tricks and putting them into songs? I mean,
fuck no.
I kind of feel the same way. What the fuck is better than that?
Yeah, what is better than that? Really, it's like you think about like whatever like real world shit. Like it's man, I don't know. Like to me, this seems like a super gratifying thing, but I mean, I don't know. 10 years from now, I could totally think differently. But right now, I think. I'm super focused on like I just want to make BMX look good, and that makes me happy. If I can make BMX look good and make it look as good as like other shit I like to watch or whatever, or at least strive for that, then that makes me happy. And I would like to continue to do that. And you know, I love BMX. I think like what we do is as cool or cooler than other shit. So it's like I just want to do it the justification that it deserves. And yeah, that's kind of like I don't know, that's where I'm at, man. You know?
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like kids need examples in BMX that could just be like, oh, like that's how much this full grown man gives a shit about BMX, that he spends this much time making this or whatever. Like kids need that as the fucking example to work from, you know? And I mean that the mentality you have on BMX, I've always appreciated it, and I love seeing that it just keeps getting more and more extreme, because like the more and more off the wall it gets, like that I like the idea of taking the concept of a video part and just manipulating it and being like, all right, well, I don't give a fuck about the conventional rules, I'm gonna fucking make this different. I mean, that's the coolest shit I can think of.
Yeah, that's like, man, I don't know, it's like I grew up like watching skate videos and just being super, like when I was like a young kid, it was like the videos that came out that were like what was the first girl video? Yeah, right. Where they used like the green kicker and stuff, and like my dumb friend was like, dude, they're really ollieing up like 9 stairs and stuff. This is crazy. You gotta come over and watch this. And I instantly knew like, oh, it's a green screen. But it's like they took that, like they might have like been joking or whatever, but it's like they made something cool happen that wasn't there before, and like that's fucking endless, man. Like you can do that forever. Like,
even if that seems like kind of a silly example in retrospect,
it's a super silly.
It's
example,
still like, oh, that's tight that they like thought of something different and fucked with everybody's heads for a while and made people at least discuss the concept of what a skate video is. Yeah, and that's probably the conversation that a lot of people have when they see your part, is like, damn, like that is a fucking different mentality on riding. Like that's a different way that you could approach this shit.
To me, it's like, I mean, it's kind of like it's similar to like Richie's mentality, where it's it's like, dude, it's just like music. Like it's
Yeah.
BMX, but it's like, dude, it's interesting because it's like with BMX or with skateboarding or with, you know, fucking anything. I guess just BMX and skateboarding, but like with music, it's like in this day and age, like bands get rewarded like bands like Architecture in Helsinki or like, you know, bands like that, like the fucking weirder you are, the more you're praised for it. And BMX and skateboarding is like the exact fucking opposite. And it's like, that sucks.
That does suck.
That fucking sucks, man. And it's like, I want to do everything I can to change that. And, you know, like, it's like, I don't know. I think that there's multiple ways to cut the cake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Totally. Damn, that literally is the end of this list of questions. Scott, anything burning in your head right now?
Sleep. I'm so fucking beat right now. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Dude, that was
too.
I'm just gonna say right away, I think it's one of the best interviews we ever did.
Yeah,
that was fucking awesome. Like it's the only one I ever was like, damn, that's gotta be 2 parts.
Informational.
Well, you did that with that one too.
With the Edwin one?
Yeah, you were like,
oh,
he was like, oh yeah, part 2 is gonna be sick.
But we were gonna have him come back.
No,
and,
this is one
and then
session
he got
into 2 parts. Too much.
Edwin
man.
got his ass thrown in jail soon after, so that was gonna happen. Damn, I mean, I'm fucking wiped. Like that was really interesting. I think like kids are gonna have a lot to fucking chew on right there in terms of just a completely different outlook of exactly what a fucking BMX video is, what a BMX video can be, and hopefully, I mean, I love anytime I see a kid even taking any kind of fucking risk or doing anything different with a BMX video, even when they fail, even when it doesn't appeal to me. I mean, I love that mentality of like, yo, fucking, you got to try something different and make yourself stand out. Like, you can only probably even think of a handful of BMX filmers that take those kind of risks or are doing interesting things. I don't know. Mastroni?
Mastroni.
Yeah. And I hopefully my ideal situation, I think hopefully people watch this interview and then they like look at the volume DVD with a different viewpoint and maybe like understand exactly where it's really coming from. So I don't know. Anything, I'm sure you want to do some sort of wrap up, some sort of thank you list besides Brian Castillo, Penelope, and
yeah, Castillo, La is honestly like, he's the dude. Like La helps me out in life so much. Like nobody, like La is like the co-owner of Volume, Brian. Yeah. And then this Asian guy La. I don't think he's ever touched a BMX bike, but he gets it. Super cool dude. Yeah, he's the shit. Like La is the reason where like I'll be in some sort of pinch where I'm like, I need a new tripod or I need this or like, dude, I'm running out of space on my hard drive. Like I need another G drive or whatever. You know, like he's the dude who's just like, oh yeah, no problem. Like, cool. You know,
he's got a voice for him too. Except it's super racist.
That was too easy though.
Okay.
He's like, it's cool as fuck. Yeah. So La, Castillo, Penelope, Josh, Kramus for sure. Like Josh and Kramus are like, I can tell Josh and Kramus like, all right, I got this spot. It's like 2 hours from here. I spent like the past 4 days making it. Like, can you guys come out here at like midnight and light it up with me? And they're just like, yeah, no doubt. You know, like Josh especially is like always down.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Penelope, Richie really for like all of his musical help with the DVD and also just like sort of reinforcing, you know, like our friendship, sort of like reinforcing what I already kind of thought about my position in things and just like what I want to do with BMX. And yeah, I don't know. He's just like a super inspirational dude to be around. And he reminds you like exactly like Tate said, like he reminds you like, fuck what everybody thinks, like do you know what I mean? And that's the shit, you know? So like him coming into my life and sort of reminding me that like to just like do, you know, think for yourself, like do what you want to do, you know?
Oh yeah.
And then, I don't know. Mom, dad, friends, family, all this stuff, and anybody who sat through this whole fucking thing, thank you.
And can I add a very important note? Rest in peace to one of the greatest dogs of all time, Gucci Bear.
Yeah, rest in peace to Gucci.
One of the greatest dogs. He was brought into the fold at the old OSS house in Austin. He
was people, man.
One of the funniest shit he ever did in his life. Jake Seeley was the only person in the house that was not exactly hyped on the idea of us getting a dog. He walks into the house, looks at Jake's bike, takes a piss all over it. So fucking funny.
Fucking know we shouldn't have got a dog. God damn it. Clean us up.
Anybody who ever stepped foot in that house during those years definitely knows about Gucci Bear, one of the finest dogs to ever live.
The finest canines to ever set foot on planet Earth.
Rest in peace.
For sure.
Only the good die young.
So yeah, TCU TV. Shout out to anybody who watched all 2 parts of this. Shout out to Scott for sitting
Shout out to
in.
you.
Vegan for filming. Shout out to Gangsta Boo for being here in spirit.
Oh yes.
And I don't know, it was fucking sick.
Thanks, Mike.
Bro, whose voice was that exactly? I am so fucking tired. This was an epic marathon session. Thank you for filming Vegan. Thank you, Mastroni, at Mike Mastroni on Instagram and everything. The end.
The end.
The end.
We're here.
Thank you, Mastroni.
Yeah, thank you. Boom.